Good morning, CW Henry School. This is Miss Davis coming to you virtually to bring you another Black History Bite of the Day. Today, on February the 12th, we're going to change it up a little bit. Today, we're not learning about a person from Black history, but actually, we're going to be learning about a sports team in Black history. We know that Black history is American history, and I am so excited to spotlight this sports team with you. You want to know who it is? Drum roll, please. Today, we are going to be learning more about a basketball team called the New York Renaissance, also known as the New York Wrens. If you've never heard of them before, the New York Wrens were the first Black professional basketball team, and they were organized in 1923, almost 100 years ago. Now, maybe you have heard of them. There was a documentary made about the New York Wrens a little bit less than 10 years ago. The documentary is called On the Shoulders of Giants. Let's watch a short YouTube clip giving you a little bit of background history on the New York Wrens. This is a clip for the documentary On the Shoulders of Giants.
Today, we can't even imagine sports without Black athletes. Nearly 79% of players who give the NBA its enormous star power are people of color. But in the early days of basketball, the number of Black players allowed to compete for national championships was zero.
I find it really hard to believe that the NBA, when it started, was segregated.
African American ball players growing up think that there was always an opportunity for them in basketball, and that's not true.
See, these young guys think they make $20 million a year because they can play. They were just born at the right time.
Before Black people could prove their worth in any arena, including sports, they would have to find each other, and they did it here.
From generations of poets, the first to the last.
That's right.
Harlem has ensured her future.
To make it, you had to get to Harlem.
Harlem did not have a professional baseball team, did not have a professional football team, but it did have a professional basketball team.
They were like gods. When they come around, everybody wanted to meet the ball players.
If you were on the Renaissance, you were on the 8-1 team.
But no matter how good the Wrens were, they were just a colored team who could never compete for a championship against the best white teams. Out of the blue, an invitation arrived.
American basketball players gather in Chicago to pry the lid off the first World's Championship for professional tossers.
It was the biggest arena the game of basketball had ever seen.
When they came out, it was pandemonium.
You could smell the sweat. You're right on top of the action.
When you play against white ball players, what are they going to do? Play basketball? They want to kill you.
They played very well together.
There's a thing we had with that rhythm.
It was like an orchestration.
The world knew at that moment they were seeing the two best basketball teams in the world.
This history has been written and rewritten by people other than African Americans. I think that you don't get a sense of the glory.
If you could go 30,000 feet up and look at the world as it evolves, that was the beginning of the evolution. They changed the game, they changed how the world saw the game.
All the older guys, we couldn't thank them, enough for what they did.
Basketball soul, Harlem son, second to none. On the shoulders of giants. Come on, feel the goal.
Okay, so that is a clip of the documentary that was produced in 2012, almost 10 years ago, giving you a little history about the New York Renaissance basketball team.
Today, we can't even.
So as you learned in the clip, they were called the Wrens, which is short for Renaissance, and they were the first all-Black professional basketball team. They were established on February the 13th, 1923, which is why we're talking about them today, February the 12th. They had immediate success when their basketball team was created, and they helped shift the presence of African American sports from the amateur level to the professional level. They were able to compete with and even defeat the original Boston Celtics, who were one of the dominant professional white teams during that era. As we learned in the documentary clip, when basketball existed in the 20s, Black people were not allowed to play professionally. When the NBA was created, originally it was a sports team only for white people. Black athletes had to earn their way to be able to play. So the original New York Renaissance team broke barriers. They broke racial barriers, and they penetrated the professional realm, which opened the doors and created positive opportunities for players and their families. The goal of the New York Renaissance basketball team was to help young male athletes achieve better opportunities in the New York City metropolitan area. On the right, you can see a flyer with some photographs of members of the New York Harlem Renaissance team. So the Wrens disbanded, or their team no longer existed, in 1949 after completing the 48-49 season of the racially integrated National Basketball League as the Dayton Wrens, based in Dayton, Ohio. If you're not sure what racially integrated means, it means that Black and white people were allowed to play together. This was also the final season for the NBL, which merged with the All-White Basketball Association of America to form the initially all-white National Basketball Association, or what we now know as the NBA. That brings you to the end of today's Black History Bite for the day. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more sports history, and I'll make sure to drop the link to the YouTube video in the description of this video if you want to learn more. I look forward to seeing you again on Monday for the next Black History Bite of the day. Have a wonderful day, everybody.